Coming up from my first tutorial on Paint 3D, I'll create a Christmas card and in doing so show you some more techniques that you can use in the program. Type Paint 3D in the search bar and then click on the Paint 3D app that appears. I'll choose Open to open up an image I have on my computer into the program. Click on Browse Files to navigate to the photo that you want to open. Choose Magic Select. Then drag the Magic Select handles to form a boundary around the area you want to extract. Then click Next. Paint 3D didn't do a bad job of selecting what I wanted. I'll use the Add tool to draw a rough line around the area I'd like included. There's also a Remove tool to remove areas you don't want included. And sometimes you need to go back and have another go to get it right. Click on Done. And now the koala and Joey have been extracted and placed on a separate layer. Because I had Autofill Background ticked, the program tries to fill in the area left behind, with varying degrees of success. Now go to the Canvas options and turn Show Canvas off. Save the koalas as a 3D model that you can use in other projects. Then save it as a Paint 3D project so that you can go back and edit it if necessary. I've navigated to an image on my computer that I want to open in Paint 3D to use as a background to my card. If you right-click on an image, a menu opens with the option to edit the image in Paint 3D. I'll crop the background to the dimensions I need for my card. The crop tool only gives you choices of pixels and not centimetres or inches, and the framing choices don't match the most common aspect ratios for cards. I'll crop my photo to fit an A5 card, which is an A4 sheet folded in half. For a high quality landscape print, I'll choose a width of 2400 pixels and a height of 1700. Which will give me the correct aspect ratio for my print. I'll then tick to lock the aspect ratio. Any changes I make from here on, whether more or less pixels, will still have the correct aspect ratio. Printing firms offer other sizes. Here are my suggestions for high quality printing to some common sizes. I've put a link to a PDF that you can download below my video, which will help you decide the pixel dimensions for your card. With the aspect ratio locked, I can now move and adjust the crop rectangle until I'm happy with the way my photo is framed. Then click Done. I think my cropped photo would look better without the twigs in the lower right corner. Choosing the Magic Select tool, I resize and move the rectangle until the area I want removed is isolated. Then click on Next. Hasn't quite chosen all the stuff I want removed, so with the Add pencil chosen, I refine the selection. Then click Done. Move the extracted section, and this time Paint 3D has done a good job of filling the space underneath. Hitting the Delete key on my keyboard removes the extracted section. We need to save our work as a Paint 3D project. Anytime you see an asterisk after the name of a project, this means that changes have been made that have not yet been saved. Click on Menu, go to Save or Save As, and save this as a Paint 3D project and give it a name. Going to Magic Select again, I want the lower part of the image on a separate layer. Position the rectangle in the desired area and click Next. I'll use the Remove tool to remove a part of the selection. Now I have the area that I want isolated. I'll click Done. Using the 3D view, resizing my view by dragging on the slider and moving around by right mouse clicking and dragging, you can see that part of the image is now in front of the canvas. Click the 3D view option to restore the standard view. To restore the appearance of the image, I'll resize the layer using the corner handles to ensure that I don't warp the perspective. The arrows on your keyboard can help to position selected items. Then, using the zoom slider, I'll check that everything looks correct, and that looks good to me. And zoom back to normal. I'll save my work. Now to insert some items into my picture. Go to Menu and Insert. And I'll browse to a model of a Sandman that I created. You could also use a 2D image that has a transparent background, or choose a 3D model from the 3D library. I use the handle on the left to move him backwards behind the wood, but in front of the canvas. Select the 3D view, use the zoom slider and right mouse click and drag to view the project, and click on 3D view again to restore the standard view. Rotate, reposition and resize. As I fiddle with getting this just right, I notice that his right arm is starting to disappear when I turn him. This is because it's going behind the canvas. In this case, I need to bring the lower picture layer forward, then I can bring the Sandman forward. And finally, I need to resize and realign the picture layer so that it looks correct. And I will just move the Sandman so his left arm is not protruding over the edge of the picture. Then I'll save the project. Now I'll insert the Koala and Joey 3D model that I saved earlier. I want them in front of the log, so I'll use the handle on the left to bring the layer forward. Resize them, and then flip horizontally to have them face the opposite direction. Now I'll go to the 3D library and bring in some presents to put in front of the koalas. As I click on each selection, the 3D model is loaded into my project. This can take a while depending on internet speed, so I've fast forwarded this part. I'll place the prezzies on the sand, resizing, changing the angle, moving back and forward, etc., as we have learnt, and for your sake I have again sped up the footage. Now that I've got them arranged the way I want, I'll select each one by first selecting one and then clicking on multi-select. Once all selected, I'll click on Group. You can ungroup them anytime. You can now move and resize them as though they were one object. Now I'll put a Santa hat on the koala and on the Joey. I've saved some PNG images with transparent backgrounds that I can use. Because this is a regular 2D image, if I were to click outside the bounding box at any stage, the image would become part of the canvas and couldn't be changed. So to ensure it can be manipulated, before I do anything else, I need to click on Make 3D. Now I'll position and resize the hat to make it look like it's sitting on the koala's head. And I'll click on Flip Horizontal to have the pom-pom on the other side. I'll repeat the process with the other hat for the Joey. Making sure that I click on Make 3D as soon as I import it. Using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+S, I'll save my work. The more complex a project becomes, the longer it takes to load and to save. To show you, I've sped up the saving and put a timer on the screen to show you just how long it takes. Now to add some text to the card. Open the text panel and choose the 2D text option. Click or drag on the image to apply the text box. Choose a font. For the front of greeting cards, usually best to choose a thick font. I've chosen Stencil. Type your greeting. Drag over the greeting to select it and make any changes. I'll centre the text. Choose a larger size. Resize the text box as necessary to fit the text. Place the tick in the background field to choose a fill colour for the text box. Use the shortcut Ctrl+A to select the text and change the colour to red. Resize and position, and when satisfied, click anywhere outside the box to commit the text to the canvas. Once you do this, you can't make any more changes. If you change your mind, you need to click Undo or use the History slider and then start again. I'll click undo, and this time I'll choose the 3D text option. This tool has the same options available as the 2D tool, with the exception of not being able to add a background fill. I'll choose the Magical Mystery font, the size, colour and alignment, and then type the text. Selecting the text, I can change the colour, or by selecting individual letters, change the attributes of just that selection. Once you have the text looking the way you want, click outside the text box to commit the text. The text now becomes a 3D object, and you have all the options available that apply to any 3D object, such as repositioning and resizing. Looking at the text in the 3D view, you can add depth to the text, and then by putting the text on an angle, give it more of a 3D appearance. However, you cannot edit the text itself. If you want to change the wording, you need to delete the text and start again. Save the project, which I've fast forwarded, and then save it as a JPEG image. Saving as a JPEG ensures that you have a file that you can share, use in other programs, or have printed by a printing service. If you're printing from Paint 3D, better to open and print from the JPEG image. Open the JPEG image you just saved. Go to the menu drop-down list and choose Print, and choose the 2D print option. Choose your printer. I'll be folding my A4 sheet in half to give me a landscape card. In the Print dialog box, under Alignment, choose the bottom centre option. Then scroll down to More Settings. Again, you need to scroll down to see all the available options. Choose the paper type you will be printing to. The last option is to turn on borderless printing if your printer allows it. Then click OK. And OK again. And then click Print. That's it for now, and thank you for watching.